Hello everyone, in this video I'm gonna be talking about some stocks that have been beaten down by the coronavirus, not only by that, but for some other reasons as well. And we're gonna be talking a little bit about the coronavirus. Is this a market crash? Is this gonna last for long? Of course it is a market crash, but how big it is? I came across a very nice article from Zacks investment about coronavirus and the previous market crashes comparing to this one. So we're going to be talking about that. We see that 2008, 2009, we got this swine flu pandemic, not only the market crash, the crisis in US, house market, etc. But there was this swine flu pandemic, so one thing on top of the other one. And there were some other events that caused market crash in 2011, 2012, and some other times as well, 2016, 2018. I'm gonna be talking about this a little bit. So according to Zacks investment, of course, is their opinion. They can be wrong. What do they say? There have been worse down days for the S&P 500 within this bull market. Comparing the bull market since around 2010, after the crisis. The crisis in 2011, the European debt crisis. There's the Fed crisis in 2013. The China devaluation in 2015. There was also in 2016 the Brexit. These reactions usually they're big. People get very scary. People get very scary because of the headlines. So the markets, they crash, but usually, most of the time, not for very long time. So they don't expect the coronavirus selling pressure to last for long. Well, that's their opinion. Who knows? Looking at the charts here. In 2011, the European debt crisis. We see the S&P 500 dropping like about 18%. We see that it didn't last too long. You see the peak in July 2011, crashing for 2 times. Around November, it was, close to be back to the same price, but not yet. But we see the crash didn't last too long. 2013, we see the Fed crisis didn't last too long as well. Was about 15% down on this. The S&P 500 was down for about 15%. The China devaluation 2015, we got about 12% market crash on the S&P 500. We see that it also didn't last for too long. From July 2015, by the end of the year was very close to be back to the highs. 2016, similar situation. This one I couldn't find, the S&P 500 to drop more than it is right now in 2020. I see only about 7% down, but anyways. 2018 we saw the crash for about 18% on the S&P 500. It lasts for about a few months. And now we have the coronavirus in 2020, and the big question is this gonna last for too long? Of course we don't know. Right now we're already about 13% down on the S&P 500. Is this gonna go even further down? We don't know. But looking at the other events, the most recent ones, we saw that usually it doesn't last for too long. Is it different this time? So it's very hard to predict right now. There will be economic impacts to China for sure. We only starting to see the signs right now, the economic impacts on them. Like China is facing really big pressure. Multiple airlines have suspended flights to China. So big companies are facing big pressure. But we have to remember, in 2020, we're going to have election in the United States. Trump and the Feds will do whatever is necessary to avoid a big market crash. That's very important to keep in mind. So the virus outbreaks are usually very scary, but historically, it's much worse in human psychology than the economy. That's interesting to keep in mind. Also, something very interesting is that gold is also falling with this crash. You see here the ETF, the junior miners ETF, for example, has been crashing. So it's been crashing from 45 to 36. It's a big crash as well. So people really stay in cash and waiting for the time where they might be back investing. So opportunities, of course, be very cautious, but I'm going to present a few stocks that are really beaten down. American Airlines, of course, the travel industry is pretty much being hit by this. So American Airlines is about 40% down already. From the highs of around $30 down to $19. And it pays a dividend, so interesting. Beating down twice, the Boeing company. They're facing some problems since 2019, and now with this crash in 2020, even more, like about 40% down. And it's a pretty big and good company, and it pays dividends. So of course we don't want to catch a falling knife, but this is a pretty good company that for sure is gonna go up at some point. Another stock that is beaten down, Ford Motor. So they're restructuring. In 2019, earnings were not as expected. In fact, they were not bad, but not as expected. There is a good potential for the future, maybe even near future. And it's being beaten down again because of this 2020 market crash. So it's about down 30%, I think only this year, not even counting last year. And it pays a good dividends from 5 to 8%. So it's really something to keep in mind. I'm not a financial advisor, please do your own research. I'm also not sure exactly what's the best time to buy. I'm actually looking myself to position some of these companies. If we catch them at the right time, as I already mentioned, 2020 is election in US. Trump and the Feds will try as much as possible to avoid a market crash and to push the market up again. Thank you so much for your time. Please subscribe to the channel, give a like.